That was satisfying. I guess, Lady Calico, and I have taken advantage of you again. I was just about to say the same about taking advantage of you, Heroine Wu replied, shaking her head. We're old friends, so there's no need to talk about such things. As long as we've eaten well, that's enough. Indeed, it was quite satisfying. You have great skills. It's all thanks to you. Heroine Wu burped again and said, For people like us from the jianghu, a meal of mushroom chicken soup and hot rabbit meat is already very satisfying. I wonder what divine delicacies that old emperor eats every day. Perhaps they're not that special. Impossible. It's just a guess. All right, I'm leaving. Please take care of the cleanup. Heroine Wu stood up and left the room. Song Yu watched her leave. Despite having had some wine and her face being a bit flushed, her steps were steady, and her tone was as calm as ever. One had to be very observant to notice any sign of drunkenness in her words, just as she had cheerfully imagined her leisurely life back in Yizhu. Song Yu shook his head and was about to look away when he suddenly spotted a figure outside on the street. A middle-aged Taoist with a limp was bowing to him. The Taoist smiled and returned the bow. At last he had arrived. \\\\. After tidying up the table and chairs, the two of them sat down facing each other. This place is quite simple, and I don't have any good tea. I hope you'll forgive me, Song Yu said respectfully. A mountain's worth lies not in its height, and a body of water's value lies not in its depth. Wherever you are represents the hidden dragon temple, the state preceptor replied, looking down. It is my good fortune to be here. Did you come for the matter of the Grand Commander? The Grand Commander was unwilling to die and sought methods to extend his life, but he fell into evil practices. His son abused his position to oppress the people and was punished by a divine immortal master. The people are greatly relieved, the state preceptor said with a smile, seemingly disinterested in discussing the right or wrong of the matter or the Grand Commander's family. He simply sighed. Once this matter spreads, there will likely be another tale of the divine immortal in the capital. What does His Majesty think of it? His Majesty has already issued orders to restrain the young nobility of changing, but no matter how wise the emperor is, how can he cover every aspect? The state preceptor sighed, appearing quite helpless. People say that the world under the heaven is the emperor's, and the land is the emperor's domain. But in my view, this world belongs neither to the common people nor to the emperor alone. You're right. If one day there is a world that truly belongs to the people, that would be a real golden age. You're a true Taoist. Song Yu felt a deeper respect. Such words were not something the nobles of this era could easily express. The current era under His Majesty's rule is actually the most peaceful time for the nobility of changing, the state preceptor said, pausing for a moment. However, on one hand, His Majesty is very busy with state affairs. On the other hand, it is difficult for him to manage everything too strictly, as there are those who feel that the Chu family is unwilling to share the rule with them. He continued, Your presence has served to deter the changing nobles, which is a great benefit to both the country and the people. His Majesty is a wise ruler and mentioned last night that he wishes to thank you more. Song Yu merely smiled in response and did not comment further. He then asked, Since you did not come here for this matter, what else is the purpose of your visit? His Majesty is indeed very ambitious, the state preceptor said. Is that so? Song Yu smiled again. State preceptor continued, Besides being ambitious, His Majesty also admires the immortals and seeks the path of longevity and leisure. I had heard of your deeds and was deeply impressed. Knowing the connection between Hidden Dragon Temple and the royal family, His Majesty had long wanted to invite you to the palace as a guest. However, I knew that you might not appreciate being disturbed, so I persuaded His Majesty to hold off. Now that we've heard you were offended by the rascals of the Grand Commander's residence, His Majesty feels deeply ashamed and has asked me to extend a personal invitation for you to the palace for a night of drinking and conversation. He paused and added, His Majesty understands that the disciples of Hidden Dragon Temple prefer to live freely. If you are unwilling, he will not insist. The state preceptor glanced at Song Yu, prepared for a possible refusal. But the young Taoist asked, Must we go today? Of course not. When then? It depends on when it is convenient for you. Will there be a banquet at the palace? Haha, of course. Whatever the disciples of Hidden Dragon Temple desire, as long as it can be provided by the palace, we will not neglect to provide it. I'm quite free recently. The state preceptor was momentarily stunned, then said, In that case, let's schedule it for 3 days from now. Even though it's just a night of drinking and conversation, the palace will need to make some preparations. All right. I will come to invite you 3 days later. May I bring my cat? Of course. Thank you, state preceptor. Even as the state preceptor left, he remained puzzled. Based on what he knew, the state preceptor had expected that Song Yu, being naturally indifferent and averse to trouble, would likely just express gratitude for the emperor's good intentions and gently decline. But to his surprise, Song Yu agreed. In the evening, the streets were still bustling with people. The state preceptor walked and pondered. Could it be that Song Yu had sensed the current emperor's connection with the underworld and wanted to test him? Or perhaps he saw problems within the great Yan dynasty, such as corruption among the scholars of Changing, the arrogance of the nobility, or the northern wars causing suffering among the people, leading to a sudden increase in population and food shortages, and intended to issue a warning or offer counsel. The disciples of Hidden Dragon Temple varied greatly. Some would engage in such matters, while others would not. The state preceptor couldn't be sure. Despite his deep thinking, he couldn't figure it out. Surely, he didn't just purely want to see the palace. \\\\. 3 days later, the state preceptor entered the palace. It was evening, and the setting sun cast a golden hue, adding a majestic touch to the already grandiose palace. 2 Taoists walked slowly within the palace grounds, accompanied by a calico cat. The palace was particularly quiet that day. Song Yu frequently looked around, while his cat also paused often, stretching its neck to observe the surroundings. The accompanying eunuchs cast occasional glances, but dared not even suggest that the cat shouldn't wander. Changing had been an ancient capital through various dynasties, and this palace, built in a previous era and maintained with some expansions and renovations, had weathered centuries of change. It had played a pivotal role in shaping the destinies of countless people and impacted the world at large. This was the center of worldly power. Song Yu had previously visited a palace in his past life, but by then, the Forbidden City had become a tourist attraction, with scattered visitors and little of the solemnity and majesty that once characterized it. It seemed to have been discarded by the times, and thus it had died. The palace before him was starkly different. Not only was it still alive, but it was also filled with authority. The imperial guards in their heavy black armor stood imposing. Their visors were obscuring their faces, and only their eyes were visible, like ghosts or gods. Occasionally, palace maids and eunuchs walked through the palace grounds with their heads bowed and taking small, careful steps, not daring to make a sound. This palace was unlike anything Song Yu had seen before. Looking up at it now, the experience was quite extraordinary. He wondered if every disciple of Hidden Dragon Temple had visited such a place. Song Yu speculated that his own master had probably never been here. And he could only imagine what the other ancestors might have thought when they visited. In any case, his feelings upon arriving here with the state preceptor were quite unique. What met the eye was not just the exquisite architecture and the grandeur of the palace, but something more. As the sun set, its light moved across the palace, casting a clear line on the courtyard's flagstones. One side was bathed in golden sunlight, while the other gradually sank into darkness. Soon, only a sliver of daylight remained, reflecting off the glazed tiles with a glimmering light. The world grew dimmer, and the Annal Palace was quiet and serene. There was no music or dance, no throngs of palace maids, only the bright lights of the day and a few tables set for the banquet, along with a few imperial guards standing watch. At the head of the room sat an elderly man in black and gold robes, looking vigorous, who stood to greet his guests. Song Yu followed the state preceptor in and couldn't help but glance at him as soon as they entered. This emperor was no ordinary ruler. While most emperors were considered supreme with no higher status or power in the world, among these supreme figures, many were mediocre. This emperor, however, was anything but ordinary. Even if he were not exceptionally capable, he was far from mediocre. The Great Yan dynasty was indeed the most powerful dynasty in history, and this was the height of its power. No matter how much credit for this flourishing era belonged to the emperor, he was destined to be remembered through the ages, a name frequently seen in history. "Greetings, your majesty," said the state preceptor, stepping forward to perform a bow. "At last, I have fulfilled your majesty's request and brought the disciple of Hidden Dragon Temple." Song Yu immediately followed suit, bowing as well. "I'm Song Yu of Hidden Dragon Temple, greetings to your majesty." "Ha ha ha, immortal master, there's no need for such formalities." "Thank you, your majesty." "Beside the immortal master is. This is Lady Calico, who travels the world with me." "So this is Lady Calico. She is indeed beautiful and extraordinary. No wonder someone might have harbored ill thoughts," the emperor said with a laugh. "But to act under the empress's name, that is quite bold." "Please pardon me, your majesty." "Please take a seat." The emperor invited the two and the cat to take their seats. He continued, I have long heard of the great name of Hidden Dragon Temple and of the deeds of the immortal master. It is a great fortune for me to finally meet you today. You're too kind, Your Majesty. There is no need to stand on ceremony. Speaking of which, when the Great Yan dynasty was first established, it greatly benefited from the assistance of the ancestors of Hidden Dragon Temple. Decades ago, when the dynasty was in decline, it was again thanks to the immortals of Hidden Dragon Temple who offered strategies, the emperor flattered. He added, whether it is for the world or the imperial family of Great Yan, Hidden Dragon Temple has been indispensable. This meeting is also a matter of fate. Let me first toast to you, immortal master. Your Majesty is too courteous. Xianxia quickly raised his cup in response, offering a toast from afar. Xianxia then looked to the other side. There a tall man was already seated. When the emperor had stood, he had risen as well, but had remained silent. This is General Chen Zini, the renowned Chen Zi, the state preceptor said with a smile. I wonder if you have heard of his name. Indeed, his name is well known. Xianxia responded by cupping his hands in a salute toward General Chen. It is an honor to finally meet you. Greetings, immortal master. Chen Zi returned the salute with a cupped fist, then squinted and examined Xianxia for a moment, asking, You seem familiar. Have we met somewhere before? When the apricot blossoms first bloomed just outside the east gate, you had just been recalled to the capital, and I had just returned from appreciating the flowers in Xianxia. We had the fortune to meet briefly then, Xianxia said, still feeling a sense of wonder, as if meeting someone from a rumor. Now, sitting face to face, drinking tea and conversing with him was a remarkable experience. Is that so? No wonder you seem familiar. General, you only recognize me from then, but to me, you're quite familiar, Xianxia remarked. Oh, I enjoy listening to stories. Not long after descending the mountain, while staying briefly in Yidu, I listened to your tales at the theater for half a year, Xianxia explained. Over the next 2 years of traveling, I often heard of your military exploits. The world tends to exaggerate. I dare not accept such praise, Chen Zi modestly replied. However, I have long heard of your deeds, which are said to be like those of an immortal. I have always admired you greatly. Upon hearing that His Majesty was hosting you, I took the liberty of requesting a seat to witness such a personage. I hope you do not take offense. Not at all, not at all. With the emperor present, the two could not speak further. As the emperor invited Xianxia and the state preceptor to take their seats, General Chen also settled back down. He soon returned to his silence, eating, drinking, and listening to the casual conversation around him. A rectangular table, draped with a cloth embroidered in golden threads, was laden with imperial dishes. Each dish was modest in portion, served in small plates and bowls, but the sheer variety was staggering, more than 20 different dishes at least. There was fine wine served in luminous goblets, and even the chopsticks were inlaid with gold. The Taoist priest, as usual, first picked some food and placed it before Lady Calico. When did you descend from the mountains, immortal master? The emperor asked. In the late summer of the first year of Ming, the Taoist replied respectfully. After a brief pause, he added, I am merely a humble Taoist and cannot bear the title of immortal master. Moreover, your Majesty is an emperor for the ages, far above offering me such a lofty honor. If your Majesty would follow the customs of this dynasty and simply call me sir, it would already be a tremendous privilege. Very well, then I shall call you sir. The emperor's face brightened with satisfaction, seemingly pleased by the praise of someone from the Hidden Dragon Temple. He continued with another question. Sir, do you plan to travel the world, exploring the vast lands of Great Yan? More or less, the Taoist answered, all the while picking a piece of food and placing it in the cat's bowl. He could feel the gaze of the general across the table. Sir, you truly live a carefree life, the emperor remarked with a chuckle. I'm merely idle, the Taoist replied simply. I have been burdened with military and political affairs for most of my life, the aging emperor remarked with a touch of wistfulness. At my age, I truly envy you, sir. It's amusing when you think about it. This world is said to be my empire, yet I fear I've seen far less of it than you have in just a few years of travel. I wouldn't dare to say so, the Taoist replied. I am but a humble Taoist. A Taoist has their way of seeing the world, and your Majesty has yours. How could they possibly be the same? Ha ha ha, well said, sir, the emperor exclaimed. You flatter me. I've heard tales that you once cultivated on Yunding Mountain, where a single night passed as if a year, truly the work of an immortal. It was merely a coincidence, the Taoist replied. Oh, the emperor probed. Yunding Mountain is rich in spiritual resonance and retains the marvelous legacies of those who came before. When I arrived there, I was deeply moved by its spiritual resonance, and my spirit resonated with the heavens and earth. That is how such an extraordinary experience came to be, Song Yu explained, lowering his gaze. In this matter, the harmony of time, place, and people was indispensable. I was merely a small part of the equation. Sir, you are far too modest, the state preceptor interjected. I've long heard of the divine legends surrounding Yunding Mountain, the emperor said with a hearty laugh. But though I sent people to search for traces of immortals there several times, they found nothing. It seems, perhaps, that Yunding Mountain was waiting for the right immortal, just as I have. You flatter me. I've also heard, the emperor continued, that to the north of Yuzhou there is a place covered in Chinese parasol trees, each one an ancient tree towering into the sky. Some say they've seen a phoenix there, perched atop a Chinese parasol tree, preening its feathers. Do you know of this, sir? I have only been out in the world for a few years and traveled through just 5 prefectures. I have not yet been to Yuzhou and know nothing of this, the Taoist admitted. Does Hidden Dragon Temple not have any records of such things? The emperor asked. Your Majesty may not know this, but although the disciples of Hidden Dragon Temple have wandered the world for generations, we never leave records of what we see and experience on our travels. Oh, and why is that? So that each generation may see the world through their own eyes. Marvelous, the emperor declared, clearly impressed. The emperor couldn't help but clap his hands and laugh, though he soon sighed with a hint of regret. I once sent people to the north of Yuzhou to search. They did indeed find towering Chinese parasol trees that seemed to have stood for millennia, but they saw no phoenixes. I can't tell whether it's because I lack the destiny to encounter them, or if this tale is merely a fabrication of the people. I had hoped to hear the truth from you, sir. I've let your Majesty down, the Taoist replied. I've also heard rumors that the blood of a phoenix, if consumed, grants immortality. Is there any truth to this? The emperor asked curiously. Immortality is not so easily obtained, the Taoist said with a faint smile. Then it's likely just another falsehood, the emperor concluded with a nod. Finally, Song Yu had a moment to taste the food. These dishes were mostly intricately prepared, with a level of complexity that only the palace, where such refinement was necessary to signify status, could support. Outside the palace, there were few environments where such elaborate cuisine could thrive. Song Yu couldn't even name most of them. Some, when tasted, revealed hints of their craftsmanship and ingredients, while others were so unfamiliar that he couldn't discern what they were or how they had been made. None of the dishes were unappetizing, all could be considered delicious. At worst, they could be described as mild. However, there weren't many that left a particularly strong impression. Given the emperor's advanced age, his palate had become accustomed to lighter flavors. These dishes prioritized appearance and, in some cases, auspicious symbolism and elegant names over pure culinary excellence. Throughout the meal, the emperor refrained from bringing up any matters of state. Instead, he spoke of immortality, gods and ghosts, and strange tales from across the land. This suited Song Yu just fine. Song Yu was neither a loyal minister nor a wise scholar. He lacked knowledge of governance and would struggle to provide meaningful answers if asked. Casual conversation like this, however, allowed him to feel at ease. The incident at the Grand Commander's residence wasn't mentioned either. By the usual rules of conversation, the Taoist should have shown deference to preserve the emperor's dignity, perhaps offering an apology, even if insincere, for the previous offense. The emperor, in turn, could have dismissed it. Alternatively, the emperor might show his magnanimity by expressing concern over the offense the Taoist suffered in Changing, admitting his regret for failing to discipline his subordinates properly. The Taoist would then feign humility and let the matter drop. But neither side did any of that. Not a single word about it was spoken. As for the state preceptor and General Chen, the state preceptor occasionally chimed in with a comment, while General Chen Zi remained mostly silent, more of a background presence. Only when something piqued his interest would he glance at Song Yu. Time passed and the night deepened. Outside the palace, the stars filled the sky. It's late, Song Yu said, rising from his seat. I should take my leave, Your Majesty. You're leaving already, sir, the emperor asked. It's not early anymore. Very well. A delightful night's conversation with you has swept away the fatigue of governance that has burdened me for years. Since you are eager to leave, I won't ask you to stay further. The emperor looked toward the state preceptor and General Chen. I shall escort our guest out of the palace, but you too must stay. Once I return, we shall continue our candlelit discussions until the 3rd watch of the night. As Song Yu prepared to leave, he spoke again. I have one last small request. Please speak freely, sir, the emperor said warmly. Among the dishes at Your Majesty's banquet, there are a few that I am particularly fond of. May I take some with me? Song Yu asked. Why not? The emperor responded without hesitation. Though the food on the table has gone cold, the imperial kitchen has fresh preparations ready. Please stay a while longer. I'll have someone heat them up and send them to your residence by carriage. Thank you, Your Majesty, Songyu said, bowing deeply. Not long after, the palace was illuminated by countless lights, their glow resembling fireflies, casting their light over the white marble railings and the intricate carvings on the tiled floors. The elderly emperor and the young Taoist strolled side by side, their steps unhurried. The Calico cat, unconcerned with palace decorum, scampered ahead, darting left and right in search of palace mice. Behind them trailed a number of eunuchs and palace maids, carrying food boxes. They followed at a respectful distance, not daring to make a sound. Occasionally, one or two would lift their gaze to steal a glance at the Taoist and his cat before quickly lowering their eyes again. Will I, too, be remembered in the annals of history? The emperor suddenly asked. Your Majesty, you jest, Songyu replied with a faint smile. What emperor is not remembered in the annals of history? The current territory of Great Yan far exceeds that of previous dynasties. Its population is the largest in history, and the prosperity of its people is unparalleled. No era has afforded its citizens a better life than the present, the emperor said, waving his sleeve with a hint of intoxication. He turned to the Taoist and asked, with tributes from all directions and nations coming to pay homage, do you think future generations might bestow upon me the title of the emperor for the ages? The affairs of future generations are beyond my knowledge, the Taoist replied, calm as always. Not even you know the answer, the emperor asked with a smile. Merits and faults are for posterity to judge, Songyu said simply. Well said, the emperor laughed heartily. But at present, I have 3 concerns and questions that I must seek your advice on. I am young, with shallow learning, unversed in governance or military affairs. I fear I may mislead you, Your Majesty. That is not true, sir, the emperor countered as they continued walking. I have sat on this throne for decades, hearing countless voices every day, some right, some wrong, some beneficial, and some harmful. When it comes to great matters, there is never a shortage of opinions. Do you think I am so easily swayed? Your Majesty is wise. Moreover, the emperor continued, the affairs of the nation can be discussed with scholars and officials, just as they can be discussed with merchants or commoners. Naturally, they can also be discussed with Taoists and immortals. As for what to adopt, that decision is mine alone to make. By now, the scent of alcohol on him had dissipated. So please speak freely without burden. Then please, Your Majesty, go on, Songyu replied, finding the emperor's reasoning sound. This emperor, if he were the sort to believe whatever he heard, could never have presided over such a flourishing era. Whatever he himself might say would simply become one more voice in the emperor's ears. At most, his voice might be slightly louder. And he was curious to hear what troubles weighed on the emperor's mind and what he wished to discuss with him. The first of my concerns is the rapid population growth in Great Yan, the emperor began. Indeed, Songyu responded simply. In other dynasties, this would be considered a blessing. Any other emperor sitting in my position would likely think it a good thing. Even many senior ministers in the court take pride in this and boast about it to foreign envoys, the emperor said, glancing at Songyu. But you must know, sir, that an overabundance of people can lead to disaster. If this continues unchecked, chaos will surely engulf the realm. You are correct, Songyu acknowledged. Decades ago, your master's master saved Great Yan from a calamity. I wonder, sir, if you might have any divine methods or wise strategies to address this crisis, the emperor asked. By coincidence, I do have something to share, Songyu said after some thought. What kind of coincidence? The emperor asked, intrigued. In the 2nd year after I descended the mountain, I visited Anqing in Shuzhou. There, I encountered a great demon with nearly 1,000 years of cultivation. Known for its many good deeds, it was revered by the local people as the Swallow Immortal. Might your Majesty have heard of this being? Is it the same Swallow Immortal who, during a great drought, stole grain from government warehouses to relieve the suffering of the people? The emperor replied without hesitation. Songyu wasn't sure whether the emperor's knowledge stemmed from his interest in matters of the supernatural and immortality, or from his meticulous awareness of the empire's affairs. Either way, he couldn't help but offer a word of praise. Your Majesty is truly a wise ruler. What does this Swallow Immortal have to do with the matter at hand? The emperor asked, curious. When I arrived in Anqing, the Swallow Immortal heard of my visit and invited me as a guest, Songyu began. During our conversation, we discussed the path to divinity. At the time, I thought of the very issue that troubles your Majesty now. Considering that the Swallow Immortal of Anqing is naturally gifted with the ability to traverse oceans and possesses vast knowledge, coupled with a desire to benefit all people and thereby ascend to godhood, I propose that the swallow immortal journey overseas in search of superior crop varieties. If successful, it might alleviate Great Yan's urgent crisis and bring immeasurable merit. Oh, the emperor was taken aback, leaning forward with interest. Do you believe there are superior crops overseas? It is merely speculation, Song Yu admitted. If a crop can be found that surpasses the yield of eastern rice and addresses this urgent need, I will thank you on behalf of all the people of the realm. The emperor, moved by the prospect, began to rise to perform a formal gesture of gratitude. Your Majesty, such a grand gesture is unnecessary, Song Yu said quickly. It is far too early to know the outcome. I cannot say whether the swallow immortal will succeed. Moreover, if something is discovered, it will be the result of the swallow immortal and their descendants' arduous efforts overseas. Any thanks should rightly be directed to the swallow immortal of Anking. Both you and the swallow immortal deserve my gratitude, the emperor replied earnestly. If they indeed found something, I would ask that your Majesty quickly implement its use to relieve this crisis, Song Yu said after a pause. I also made an agreement with the swallow immortal. They will seek to benefit the people, and I will safeguard their merit. If your Majesty truly wishes to express gratitude, then please confer a formal recognition upon the swallow immortal of Anking. This deed, though immeasurable in merit, is entirely the swallow immortal's doing and must not be credited to others. I will honor this request, the emperor promised. If nothing is found, I fear I have no other solutions. I only ask that your Majesty does not hold me accountable for the failure, Song Yu added. Even your intention to help is a great kindness, the emperor replied. Thank you, your Majesty, Song Yu said. Inviting you to the palace for a conversation was indeed a good decision, as is escorting you now. In just this short time, one of my greatest worries has been eased, and I can now look forward to some restful sleep, the emperor said with a smile. However, I still have two major concerns in my heart. Your Majesty, please speak. The first is the great threat from the north, the emperor began. Though years of warfare have deterred the people of the northern frontier from invading, and the western regions have also stabilized, the unrest in the northeast and northwest is not a problem of one reign or one dynasty. It has been the enduring scourge of every Central Plains dynasty for millennia. During times of prosperity, peace can be maintained, but when the Central Plains weaken, they inevitably descend southward like a flood, threatening the court, pillaging the people, and plunging the land into chaos. Many dynasties during their golden ages have managed to repel them, but only for a time, years or decades, never permanently. Does your Majesty wish to launch an offensive? Song Yu asked. Indeed, the emperor replied firmly. The ruler was dressed not in the dragon robes of the dynasty's founding days, but in simple attire, strolling casually through the palace grounds late at night as he conversed with the Taoist. Yet the words he spoke carried the weight of life and death for countless thousands and the fate of millions upon this land for centuries to come. Perhaps this moment would become a brilliant pearl in the annals of history. In this time of peace and prosperity, with a skilled state preceptor and valiant generals at my side, I wish to dispatch troops, first to subdue the northern frontier, then to conquer the western regions. My hope is that, within my lifetime, I can rid the north of its great threat and secure peace for generations to come. The elderly emperor's voice was resolute and powerful. Song Yu narrowed his eyes slightly as he listened. The emperor's ambition was grandiose, but even if he could secure peace in the north for just 100 years, it would still be a monumental achievement worthy of being called a legacy of unparalleled greatness. At this moment, what the Taoist saw was no longer the palace in the depths of night, but a pivotal turning point in history. He could only sigh, wondering what virtue or ability he possessed to be part of such a moment. Chapter 158, A Brush with History. However, after years of war, the northern region is in chaos, and the common people are living in extreme hardship. No one wants to fight anymore, they just wish for a few days of peace. The emperor's tone softened, losing the vigor from before. I wish to wipe out the northern tribes in one decisive strike, yet the ministers in court have advised a more gradual approach. I also believe that Great Yan is weary and needs to recuperate, but I fear there is not much time. When the next emperor takes the throne, I cannot guarantee he will have the same ambition as I do. I don't know what to do. How could the Taoist provide an answer to that? If he could accomplish such an extraordinary feat, it would naturally be excellent. But behind such achievements, there were often countless lives lost in suffering. Looking back at these historical achievements provided a different perspective. The unbearable hardships had been smoothed over by the passage of time, leaving only the glorious highlights. Yet, going through it in the present, one could truly grasp that every step in history was paved with the lives of countless beings. In his view, there were three kinds of wars. One was unavoidable, where the benefits outweighed the costs. A battle fought for a period of long-lasting peace. When this battle was won, peace followed. If you refused to fight, there would be no peace for a long time. Another type was not necessary, where the pros and cons were hard to discern. Some say it should be fought, others say it shouldn't. Some say it would be good to fight, while others say it was better not to. Different people, standing from different viewpoints, would give different answers. The last kind was a pointless war. Either the timing was wrong, the chances of victory were too slim, or there was no real need for it at all. It was a conflict driven by the emperor's personal desires or whims, bringing no benefit to the country or its people. If the current emperor were to launch another war against the north, Song Yu couldn't clearly distinguish which kind it would be. Was it truly unavoidable? Was it optional? Or was this emperor merely seeking to satisfy some personal desire or to achieve everlasting fame in history? Song Yu wasn't certain whether it should be fought now or left for a later generation. Would this war bring victory or defeat? Would it exhaust the nation's resources and lead to decline? He truly didn't know. Besides, no matter the outcome, countless lives would be lost. The Taoist was just a Taoist, not an emperor, nor a politician. It truly wasn't his place to offer counsel. It was much like the cycle of reincarnation in the underworld. Song Yu could only speak honestly. This matter is of great importance, but I lack the knowledge and understanding to offer any meaningful insight. Then let it be. The emperor seemed somewhat disappointed and sighed inwardly. He knew that his ancestors had relied on the hidden dragon temple to establish the dynasty and to overcome crises that threatened the livelihood of the people, leading to periods of prosperity. If the Taoist in front of him could provide advice, it would undoubtedly bolster his confidence. However, he also understood that the Taoists of Hidden Dragon Temple were known for their detached nature. Unless the situation of the common people was dire or directly affected them, they rarely interfered in political matters. Therefore, the emperor didn't press further. I have one last question. Please go ahead. Sir, you must be knowledgeable in divination, the emperor said. Earlier at the banquet, you conversed with Chen Zi. I wonder, what do you think of him? I see. Song Yu immediately understood and said, So, your majesty invited General Chen tonight to let me observe him. Precisely. The emperor looked straight ahead with a calm expression. I have always believed in not doubting the people I use, and if I doubt them, I don't use them. However, Chen Zi has achieved such high military merit that ministers in the court often submit reports based on mere rumors, either accusing him of harboring ambitions to seize power or suggesting he has rebellious intentions. I know in my heart that these are all false. Oh. Yet, news from the border states that Chen Zi holds unparalleled authority within the army, and his soldiers yield to only their general, not their emperor. It's even said that he has earned great respect among the northern jianghu. Now, it seems as if the court's money and rations are being used to support Chen Zi's private army. I feel that, even if the reports are exaggerated, there's probably some truth to them. So, your majesty summoned him to the capital. First, I wanted to gauge his thoughts, and second, I intended to put him to use again, so I ordered his return. He also returned to the capital swiftly and decisively. Haha, his actions really echo that storyteller's phrase, a man of boundless courage. I see, Song Yu felt momentarily dazed. So, the young general he once heard about from storytellers had now become such a formidable figure. The emperor then asked, I wonder, could you tell if there was anything unusual about this man? He was likely asking about traits like rebellious intent, or if he had the bearing of an emperor. Your majesty misunderstands. I'm not skilled in fortune-telling or divination, Song Yu replied. I cannot predict the future of Great Yan, nor can I see anyone's fate. If your majesty is asking me whether General Chen harbors rebellious intentions or possesses some extraordinary regal bearing, you've asked the wrong person. You don't understand divination. I do not. Then, how did you know about the great seeds overseas? It was just an educated guess. You wouldn't have sent Swallow Immortal to search for them without a high degree of certainty, would you? I have other methods. I see. Hearing this, the emperor didn't want to press any further, though he felt another wave of disappointment. I've heard that the state preceptor is skilled in such matters, Song Yu asked. Why not consult the state preceptor? I've spoken to him as well. However, the state preceptor values his reputation. Unless the matter is of great importance, he usually only offers advice that benefits the nation and its people. On matters like these, he tends to remain silent. He says nothing at all. Sir, you are a human immortal of Hidden Dragon Temple. I have nothing to hide from you. When I spoke with the state preceptor about Chen Zi, he said Chen is a loyal man. However, he also mentioned that Xianxia indeed commands unmatched authority in the army, and his soldiers deeply respect him. These 2 points I already know. I heard that the charity clinic and the care home were both established at the state preceptor's suggestion. That's correct. The so-called charity clinic, care home, and communal burial ground were all welfare institutions of this era. The charity clinic was a medical aid institution in Xianxia, primarily providing medical services to the poor and sick. The care home was akin to a combination of a retirement home and an orphanage from future generations, usually divided into separate sections. The portion that cared for the elderly was also called Anlo home or Anhui home, while the part caring for children was known as Siu home. The communal burial ground, on the other hand, was a public burial institution, mainly responsible for burying unclaimed corpses. The establishment of these state-run social welfare institutions, although proposed by the state preceptor, also reflected the Great Yan dynasty's emphasis on the well-being of its people. These institutions were made possible by Great Yan's highly developed economy, its well-structured social system, and the ruling class's concern for the livelihoods of the common people. Such institutions had never existed before, and perhaps, if Great Yan were to fall and the next dynasty failed to inherit these traits, these symbols of civilization would also cease to exist. When Song Yu first heard about these institutions, he was somewhat shocked. In an era often portrayed as dark and ruthless, where the upper class disregarded the common people, it was hard to imagine that the rulers would establish such humanitarian institutions to care for the lower classes. The state preceptor's role in creating these institutions was certainly a significant merit. Of course, due to various limitations, the reach of these welfare institutions was also restricted. A charity clinic couldn't treat all the poor patients of Xianxia. This was why some, like those who had been possessed by evil spirits earlier, were still unable to seek treatment. The care home couldn't take in all the orphans and elderly of Xianxia, so there were still old people sleeping on the streets, and baby girls were still being abandoned in the river. As for the communal burial ground, while they did manage to bury all the unclaimed corpses, they could do no more than find a place to cover them and offer the dead only the most basic dignity. Yet, as long as the charity clinic cured one patient, the care home cared for one orphan or elderly person, or the communal burial ground buried one corpse, it was already considered a good deed. One should not refrain from doing a good deed, no matter how small. Returning to the matter of Xianxia, perhaps the state preceptor knew what his future held, or perhaps he didn't. But if even the state preceptor, skilled in divination, could not provide an answer, then Song Yu certainly couldn't either. Your Majesty, I will take my leave now. I wish your Majesty restful sleep and good health, and for Great Yan to last long, with its people living in peace and prosperity. Thank you for your kind words, sir. I shall take my leave. Take care, sir. Song Yu climbed into the carriage the Emperor had prepared. The cat followed him, hopping in and curiously looking around, its head swiveling from side to side as if finding everything new and exciting. Move. The horse's hooves clattered, and the wheels rumbled. The cat was even more fascinated now, sticking its head out to observe the scene. Meanwhile, Song Yu sat still with his eyes half closed. Thanks to his elevated status, he had a naturally higher vantage point, making it easy to witness things that ordinary people could not. Just like tonight. Peak dynasty that thrived in its time, an elderly emperor with grand ambitions, the undefeated general who had conquered lands, the emperor's suspicions, the general's responses, the state preceptor in between. Whatever happened next, or was happening now, would likely become a significant chapter in history. And here he was, so close to history, yet unable to see it in its entirety. It was truly a strange feeling. What made this moment remarkable could not be put into words. In any case, he didn't know what might happen in the future, whether the emperor, driven by suspicion, would choose to execute the renowned general or continue to trust and employ him, whether the emperor would wage war in the north, seeking eternal glory and victory or risking the weakening of the empire in defeat, or if he decided to forego warfare altogether, even if General Chen were to rebel years later. But Song Yu's visit to the palace tonight, brushing against such monumental events in history and witnessing the writing of its chapters firsthand, had already made it all worthwhile. Centuries from now, countless people would be filled with admiration and curiosity about this era. They would recite and write stories of this time, memorize the famous poems and works created in this age, and debate whether that legendary general harbored private ambitions or whether the emperor's actions were right or wrong. And here, centuries earlier, the Taoist priest had witnessed it all with his own eyes. It almost felt as if he had become part of the history books himself. When he came back to his senses, the cat was already perched on his lap, her face so close to his that her mouth was practically nudging his chin. Taoist priest. Him. What are you thinking about? You wouldn't understand. Oh. The cat nodded obediently, then stared at him again and asked, What is this? What do you mean, what is this? The thing we're in, what is it? A carriage. We often see them on the road, the Taoist patiently explained. But the ones on the road aren't as nice as this one. Why don't we get one of these and put it on the horse? Then we can sit inside while we walk. The cat's eyes were full of confusion. Meeting her gaze, many answers flashed through the Taoist's mind, like, then it wouldn't be us walking anymore. Or, carriages can only travel on main roads, they can't climb mountains, but none of these seemed convincing enough. The cat would probably come up with many different responses or ask even more questions. So after thinking it over, he simply said, That would make the horse very tired. Oh, right. The cat immediately nodded in agreement, finding it completely reasonable. Chapter 159, Lying Low. We've arrived at Willow Street. Here is fine. Yes. The young eunuch lifted 2 food containers out of the carriage. The Taoist and the cat both stepped down. Thank you. Then I'll take my leave. With the crack of a whip, the carriage rumbled away again. It was already deep into the night, and by the faint starlight, they could barely make out the road. The Taoist picked up the 2 food containers, while the cat stared curiously at the door next door. Has the heroine gone to bed yet? The Taoist asked. Not yet, the cat answered. Not yet, came a voice from next door as well. Suddenly, the door swung open. The heroine, who had been pressed against the doorframe and eavesdropping ever since she heard the sound of the carriage, appeared in the doorway. She stared at them and said, Where did you 2 come back from? And why did you take a carriage? Have you eaten yet, heroine? Of course I've eaten. It's so late already. And how was your meal? I had gruel and pickled vegetables, decent enough. Heroine Wu sniffed the air. What's that you're holding? We went out for a meal and brazenly packed some food to bring back, Xianxia said, extending the food containers toward her. Please try some, to repay you for the mountain delicacies you shared with us the other day. Where did you pack this from? Heroine Wu reached out to take the containers. Although it was too dark to see, the moment she felt their weight, she realized something was off. This container alone must be worth quite a bit, she thought. It's from the palace. What? Please, have a taste of the food the emperor eats. Come in and we'll talk. Heroine Wu turned and walked into the house. She blew on a tinder and lit the oil lamp. The lamp quickly brightened the room. Xianxia glanced at the lamp, sniffing the air. The room clearly smelled of oil smoke. Looking down, he saw several short, rope-like things made of dry grass. They smelled like the materials usually used to make mosquito coils. He thought back to when they had first entered Willow Street and vaguely noticed faint, nearly imperceptible lights in this direction. It seemed the heroine had been downstairs earlier, likely weaving these grass ropes with the lights on. However, she could have done that during the day. The fact that she stayed up late, lit up her lamp and wasted her oil to continue weaving probably meant either she had an urgent need, or she was waiting for her neighbors as she was worried because they hadn't returned for a long time. Hearing the sound of carriages outside, more than one, she quickly extinguished the light and pressed her ear to the door, showcasing the vigilance of someone from the jianghu. The Taoist pulled his gaze back as the heroine fixed her eyes on the food containers. Why are you weaving these grass ropes, heroine? He asked. They're fire wicks, don't you use them? I've never used them. Then, what do you use to keep mosquitoes away? There are no mosquitoes in the temple. There are no mosquitoes in the mountains. Not in the temple. That must be a heavenly place, then. So these are for repelling mosquitoes. Yes, summer's here and the mosquitoes are getting worse. Once you light these, the mosquitoes won't come near. Just be careful not to burn down the house, Heroine Wu said, looking up and down at the food container. The surface was as smooth as a mirror, reflecting the light from the oil lamp with a fine purple-red sheen. Her eyes widened gradually. Oh my, sandalwood. You recognize it? I've been in changing long enough. Do you really think I've seen so little? I would never suggest that. So, you really went to the palace? I wouldn't dare lie. How did you get in? Heroine Wu asked, her curious eyes fixed on him. If it weren't for the fact that the eunuchs and palace maids just escorted you back, I'd almost think you stole this from the palace using some Taoist magic. The Taoist replied honestly. Since 2 of my master's masters from Hidden Dragon Temple had some connections with the imperial family of the Great Yan dynasty, and the emperor heard about my involvement with the Grand Commander's residence, he specially invited me. Coincidentally, I'm traveling around the world, and I wanted to witness the heart of power and see the emperor's demeanor firsthand to broaden my knowledge. So, I took the opportunity to visit. During the meal, I remembered how you had once been curious about what the emperor eats every day, so I shamelessly asked for permission to bring back a few dishes that I thought were either particularly tasty or suited to your palate. She said, "So, you guys even have ties with the imperial family. No wonder you're so bold." More or less. All right, Heroine Wu thought it over, but it wasn't too surprising. The great Yan emperor was known for his fondness of associating with cultivators. If the emperor learned that a highly skilled Taoist with some connections was in Changing, it was entirely normal for the emperor to invite him to the palace for a late-night conversation. 1 liang of sandalwood, 1 liang of gold. This box alone is worth quite a bit. Since those eunuchs and palace maids didn't take it back, they probably won't come asking for it later either. You could sell it and never have to worry about money again. I'll still need to worry. I heard the emperor is as awe-inspiring as a god, and that ordinary people tremble with fear when he looks at them. Is that true? Not at all. What does he look like? Just an old man. Oh my, this smells wonderful. These dishes were specially prepared, not leftovers. You're quite thoughtful, Taoist. Heroine Wu had already opened the food containers, setting out dish after dish, and fetched some chopsticks from inside the house. Moments later, the two sat across from each other by the lamp. One enjoyed the food, while the other spoke. The matter regarding the Grand Commander seems to have been resolved, but there are many rumors circulating among the people of Changing. It is likely that there will be a period of unrest to come. Indeed, Heroine Wu mumbled through a mouthful. The food brought over from the palace was still at the perfect temperature. She ate quickly and said, "I already heard the rumors outside a few days ago. According to them, although they say the Grand Commander died from a poisonous longevity pill, some claim it was a Taoist who scared him to death. They said it was the same Taoist who punished the steward and the young master, and who was invited by the Grand Commander's residents to rid the place of rats. The rumor even says that this Taoist had a calico cat with him. It won't take long before they track you down." After a brief pause, she added, "If it were any other Taoist, they'd probably be thrilled. Business would boom, and people would pay a premium for their services. But you, I imagine, are more concerned about losing your peace. I've decided to temporarily take down my exorcism, sign, and head outside the city for a while." "Oh, what's this? It's so good." "I'm not sure. It seems to be a combination of venison and chicken, fried and then steamed." "Does the emperor eat like this every day?" "Not always." "Where would you go to lay low?" "Well, back in Yidu, I often traveled to visit famous mountain temples or masters outside the city. I've been in Changing for quite a while now, and it's only getting hotter, making it harder to go out. Besides leaving the city to see the apricot blossoms and catching a few demons, I haven't ventured out much. Now seems like the perfect time to do so," Song Yu said with a smile. "I'll go out to search." "Search for what? Who? What kind of master?" Heroine Wu fired off 3 questions in a row, then lowered her head to devour more food. At today's palace banquet, the conversation touched upon the mysterious and fantastical places of the world. Song Yu then asked the state preceptor which master and talented eccentrics resided in Changing. The state preceptor first offered a few compliments before saying that, to his knowledge, there were 4 distinguished individuals in Changing who could perhaps be called masters, even in the presence of an heir of hidden dragon temple. The first was Lady Wanjiang of Hexian Pavilion, whose mastery of the Qin was unparalleled. She could cause phenomena like rain on a sunny day or snow in the summer with her music. Such a skill, even an heir of hidden dragon temple would likely marvel at. The second was a painter who arrived in the city just last winter, a descendant of the legendary Master Du. Though he had not inherited all of Master Du's divine skills, his abilities were still remarkable and might pique Song Yu's interest. The third was a divine doctor who lived outside the city. It was said that he could bring the dead back to life. He was also skilled in butchering, bone setting, and performing cranial and thoracic surgeries to treat illnesses, which could be considered extraordinary techniques. Many aristocrats in the city had sought his services, including the emperor himself, who had invited him to the palace to treat both the emperor and the empress. Despite his great reputation, he was often hard to find for the wealthy. However, he was frequently encountered by the poor in various regions, providing them with free medical treatment, a testament to his kindness and goodwill. People revered him as a god in human form, and some believed that after his death, he might truly ascend to godhood. The fourth was a snake immortal who resided 300 li outside the city, in the mountains. This immortal had been conferred the title by the founding emperor of the dynasty. It was rumored that he had the bearing of a true dragon and often performed good deeds, though he was difficult to find. Some said that the divine doctor and the snake immortal were connected, though whether through friendship or something else was unclear. It was said that when the doctor ventured into the mountains to gather medicinal herbs and encountered danger, the snake immortal, grateful for the doctor's virtuous deeds, would often come to his aid. The state preceptor also mentioned that the snake immortal likely had a past connection with the state preceptors of Hidden Dragon Temple. Song Yu had already met the first two individuals, so only the latter two remained for him to seek out. I've heard that if you head north outside the city, there's a divine doctor. His methods can be shocking, but his skills are extraordinary, and he has an upright character. I plan to search for him and see for myself. Dr. Kai. You've heard of him too, Heroine. Heroine Wu furrowed her brow. Song Yu then stared at her, waiting for her to finish eating. Fortunately, Heroine Wu was a woman of the jianghu, with a carefree character. An ordinary woman might have found it difficult to eat under such scrutiny. She chewed and swallowed the food in her mouth before saying, Dr. Kai lives on Mount Bacon, over 100 li north of the city, but he's rarely home. The path up the mountain is difficult to find, and many nobles have sent people to look for him multiple times without success. I've gone twice myself, but I wasn't lucky enough to find him either. And lately, things have been a bit chaotic there. If you go now, you're unlikely to find him. He asked, and what was your reason for seeking Dr. Kai? I had my reasons. I see, Song Yu nodded, not pressing further, but he did ask, and why has Mount Bacon been so chaotic lately? It's related to you, actually. How so? Heroine Wu said, the matter with the Grand Commander's residence, though the rumors among the people are wild, and the authorities have issued an order to silence them, they can't hide it from us. I heard that on the day the Grand Commander died, right before his death, he asked a servant to lay out paper and prepare ink as if he were about to paint something. This naturally made those in the jianghu think of the elusive descendant of Master Du, who had been searching for years but suddenly vanished in changing. But truth be told, someone probably already discovered that Master Du's descendant was hiding in the Grand Commander's residence and had sneaked in to investigate. Otherwise, your cat wouldn't have seen a tiger chasing someone on the street in the middle of the night. Sir Du fled to Mount Bacon. Some say he's been spotted there, Heroine Wu replied. That's why it's chaotic over there right now. You've got warriors employed by the nobility, skilled fighters from famous martial sects, and maybe even some low-profile but highly skilled individuals like Xu Yifan. Plus, the usual riffraff. In short, it's a mixed bag. Even if Dr. Kai is home, he'd likely be laying low to avoid trouble. So that's how it is. Are you still going? I am, Song Yu said with a smile. Figures, Heroine Wu nodded. You've got nothing else to do, and you were planning to leave the city anyway. If I can't find Dr. Kai, I'll head further north and deeper into Mount Bacon to look for the legendary snake Immortal. I've heard he may have had some connection with my master's master. It wouldn't hurt to pay my respects to a senior. Sounds like a good plan. Heroine Wu mulled it over, her eyes lowered in thought. After a moment, she suddenly said, I'll take you there. It just so happens I need to look for him again. Hopefully, you, the so-called divine immortal among the common folk, will grant me a bit of luck this time. If I manage to find him, you'll be doing me a huge favor. Then I'll thank you in advance, Heroine. Belch. Take your time eating. I'll take my leave. Thanks for the meal, by the way. You're welcome. With that, Song Yu, accompanied by his cat, left and headed back home. Chapter 160, The Princess and the Qin Master. After a round of washing up, the Taoist lay down on the bed. The cat stood on the coffee table by the window, occasionally turning its head to glance at the night outside, then looking back at the Taoist on the bed. Lady Calico, you should go to sleep early. Was that person today the Emperor? Yes, he is the Emperor. The Taoist, lying on the bed with his eyes open, looked into the darkness and said to her, if you had received his imperial edict back then, you could have remained a cat god by the Jinyang Road without fear of being captured. You wouldn't have to wander around like this with me. I enjoy wandering around with you. The cat immediately turned around to respond. The Taoist couldn't help but smile. The Calico cat back, then didn't think that way. Unknowingly, a long time had passed. Taoist priest. Will people still come looking for me to catch mice in the future? Of course they will. The Taoist remained still on the bed, his voice the only sound that came through. And no one will dare to harbor ulterior motives anymore. But you should learn how to interact with people, not just as a cat, but also as a demon, as a person. I will do my best. Are you going out to catch mice tonight? I'm full tonight. Then you should sleep early. I need to absorb the moon's essence. But there's no moon tonight. Oh, right. The cat then turned around and jumped back onto the bed, crawling around until it found a comfortable spot near the Taoist's waist. After adjusting its position to make itself more comfortable, it closed its eyes. The Taoist also shut his eyes. At this time, some movement could be heard from next door. He wondered what the heroine was doing in changing. He only knew that she was very aware of all the happenings in and out of the city. Many events that occurred in the morning she had already heard about by the time she returned in the evening. Even those matters that were usually hard to hear about, as long as she inquired, she could easily get to the bottom of it. It seemed to be part of her work in changing, and the work she did for the nobility. However, it appeared that her reason for coming to changing wasn't just for riches and glory. Interesting. The Taoist calmed his mind and drifted into sleep. \\\\. The room was lit with many candles, emitting a calming fragrance. The square lanterns were adorned with poetry, and layers of white gauze curtains created a hazy ambience, casting silhouettes of the people inside. Two individuals sat across from each other at a chessboard. One was a graceful and noble woman, around 40 years old. She had great skin, though she had a bit of wrinkles. At this moment, she was playing the white pieces. The other, dressed in white, was as beautiful as a celestial fairy. She was playing the black pieces. Behind them stood a maid in attendance. The sounds of chess pieces being placed echoed back and forth. The noble woman spoke. "You've been in changing for a few years now, and you seem to have grown even more beautiful. My appearance hasn't changed. Perhaps I've just become more like the people of changing after staying here for a long time. Sometimes I truly want to hire someone to find those rumored pills that guarantee eternal youth. Unfortunately, even your gold feeder ghosts here can't bring my youth back. Princess, you have grand ambitions. How could you get involved with such trifles? You are quite clear-headed, but you, who can retain eternal youth, wouldn't understand what sacrifices women make to preserve their youth and beauty." The princess shook her head. The princess said, "It's a pity my two younger brothers aren't as clear-headed as you. They've even incited demons to eliminate my subordinates without knowing who orchestrated it or who guided them. Haha, how can one aspire to be an emperor during peaceful times while acting in such a manner? What you say is indeed true. Recently, we discussed why the city god of changing suddenly woke up and became diligent. Have you found out the reason? Princess, forgive me, but there's still no news." "That's fine. The city god has been complacent for too long. He will eventually realize that this is not a sustainable path. However, for him to wake up now and intervene in the struggle for the crown prince, even as a deity, requires some courage," the woman said, her fingers pinching a chess piece as she examined the board for a potential move. She continued, "If it weren't for someone enticing him with benefits, there must be a master urging him on. The heavenly palace wouldn't have intervened all these years, and it probably wouldn't now either." "Your words are quite correct," the princess spoke calmly. Miss Wanjiang glanced up and smiled. Her smile was so bright that it was as if the candlelight dimmed a little. "Judging from your words, you already have someone in mind. Do you remember the auspicious signs that descended in the capital at the end of spring, when the spiritual rain soaked everything?" "I remember. Have you heard about the incident at the Grand Commander's mansion a few days ago?" "I've heard." Miss Wanjiang squinted, recalling their encounter on Mount Chang and her quick glimpse of the person at the Hexian Pavilion. The rumored Taoist master who punished the Grand Commander's son had also brought a calico cat. Is there a connection between those two? "I don't know," the princess said, placing her piece and furrowing her brow. She continued, "However, tonight, His Majesty invited a Taoist into the palace to drink and discuss matters with the state preceptor and General Chen Zi in the Annal Palace. He specifically instructed the concubines and eunuchs not to roam around to avoid disturbing the palace's tranquility. I've heard that the Taoist brought a calico cat with him." "So, you've planted a spy around the emperor?" "Not exactly," the princess replied. "But the palace is so small, how could any incident escape anyone's notice?" "I see. Do you know when such a master arrived in changing?" "I don't know for now," the woman answered quite candidly. "Go look into it." "Yes." "What time is it?" "It's almost the third watch." "It's so late." Wanjiang asked, "Do you want to return or stay here to rest?" "I should go back for a while. I'm not sure if that Taoist has left the palace yet or is still inside having a late-night conversation with His Majesty. In any case, I need to return to find out." "Are you not going to finish this game?" "You've already won." The princess stood up. The woman quickly got to her feet as well. After seeing the princess off, her expression changed swiftly, losing its respect and becoming indifferent. With large, elongated eyes that seemed almost otherworldly, Her beauty was unlike that of an ordinary mortal. Her lips resembled a boat turned upside down, and when her expression became indifferent, it immediately exuded an air of cold disdain for the world. She turned to gaze at the night sky outside, squinting her eyes in contemplation as she murmured, "Hidden Dragon Temple." She called for her maid to bring her a painting and opened it to take a look. The painting depicted a mountain full of apricot blossoms, with a long corridor circling the mountainside, yet only a corner was captured in the artwork. On the corridor sat the Taoist and the cat side by side, the cat leaning slightly toward the Taoist, the scene quiet and beautiful. Even some ill-intentioned individuals would find their hearts softened for a moment upon seeing it. In the distance, the mountains and flowers appeared faint. Nearby, the apricot blossoms extended their branches, with petals gently falling in the wind, drawing the cat's gaze upward. It was truly a rare and exquisite painting. When it was first completed, she felt it should be gifted to the Taoist, believing that would be the best outcome for their fated meeting. But after bringing it home and frequently admiring it, she found herself liking it more and more, and growing increasingly reluctant to part with it. Though it couldn't compare to the masterpieces of the great Master Du, nor to those of Master Du's successors, it could still be considered a remarkable work, right? If asked if she would give away this painting, the woman would definitely refuse, not even to the princess. If the gift were to be returned to the figure depicted in the painting, it would be a delightful matter, but at this moment, her heart wasn't as decisive as before. Sigh, the woman revealed a look of helplessness. She put away the painting, poured herself a pot of wine, and sat back down at the chessboard. She picked up a piece again, saying to the maid beside her, "Come play a game with me." "Master, I am you. How can I possibly win against you?" the maid replied with a cheerful laugh. Sigh, how boring. The next morning, the game of chess the night before remained, while the spring wine lay half-drunk and empty. The woman gradually awakened. The maid refused to play chess with her, so she had to play against herself. Of course, even if the maid did play, it would still be her playing against herself. Unfortunately, her own thoughts were at odds. She had no choice but to continue playing alone until midnight, with neither side winning. After drinking some wine, she found it lacked sweetness while drinking, and upon waking, it felt bitter. How annoying. The maid returned to report that she had found the gentleman's residence. "Are we going today?" "Not today." "Why not?" "It's cloudy today. It's not suitable to go out." "When will we go?" "In a few days. He should be quite busy these days." "All right." The maid withdrew, and the woman continued to lie back down, occasionally fiddling with the chess pieces on the table. Her eyes seemed to be observing something, yet appeared distant. Her mind seemed to be contemplating, yet also emptied of all thoughts. **********. Willow Street attracted many gazes. In Changing, there were numerous individuals fond of the immortal Tao and idolizing masters. Many could not tolerate the Grand Commander's luxurious lifestyle or his lack of control over his children. Likewise, there were many who simply wished to befriend master cultivators. Common folks only knew that the Grand Commander sought to extend his lifespan, mistakenly consumed a poisonous elixir, and was poisoned to death. It was most commonly said that the arrogant son of the Grand Commander had offended a master, who then cursed him to become deaf and mute, pleasing the public. Gradually, some began to say that the master might have descended from the heavens, but after all, it was just hearsay. No one knew who the immortal truly was. But if one were among the powerful and wealthy of Changing, they would know a thing or two about this. Some were eager to witness the demeanor of the master, yet feared incurring the displeasure of the Chang family. Others were unafraid, but did not know how to make a visit. Some found a reason to visit the master, but then hesitated, wondering if many others had thought of the same approach. Some worried that the master or the Chang family would blame them, since they had introduced the mouse-catching divine cat to the Grand Commander's family. Some were typically calm and observed from the shadows. Some were naturally straightforward and came as they pleased. Yet those who arrived at Willow Street could only find a closed door. The original sign that had exorcism had been removed, leaving only rodent extermination. The Taoist rose early and boiled a few eggs. Then he took the Calico cat and bought some baked flatbreads, steamed buns, and mantou. He filled his water containers and then followed Heroine Wu to fetch her beloved yellow mane horse, and together they left the city. At this point, they were already on the road to Mount Bacon. In midsummer, when lush greenery surrounded them, today was particularly cool. The sun was hidden from view, and walking along the dirt path with the wind blowing felt truly delightful. The cat took little, quick steps, darting here and there as if it hadn't been outside the city for a while. It was in high spirits, occasionally following the sound of cicadas to find its way up a tree, which only improved its mood further. The Taoist priest was also in a good mood, feeling as if the world was his oyster. He cast aside all thoughts of changing. He just wanted to enjoy himself without caring about the heap of troubles. Today's cloudy. It's a great day to go out. It's nice and cooling. Indeed. As long as it doesn't rain. It won't rain today. How do you know? I guessed. Then I believe you. Thank you. The Taoist took a glance at Heroine Wu, who was carrying several fire wicks on her horse. She was likely worried about spending the night in the deep mountains where there might be many mosquitoes and wanted to use them to ward them off. That was great. It saved him some worry. The cat ran ahead again, sniffing the grass by the roadside. It sniffed and then took a couple of bites. While chewing, it glanced back at the two people and the horse behind it. Heroine Wu was leading the horse and pointed to a path, saying, "If we go this way, we'll reach the famous Changing Ghost Market." I've heard of the Changing Ghost Market as well. Where did you hear about it? At a tea house. Have you been there? No. I thought so. Yeah. The ghost market was located outside the city and only opened at night. If they were to visit, they definitely wouldn't return until late. With the soundproofing of the small building and this woman's vigilance, she would likely know if he didn't return home one night. I'd like to take a look at it, but I'm not sure how to get there, what makes it special, or if there are any particular customs. Song-yu wanted to ask her for guidance. Heroine Wu didn't hesitate and replied, "The ghost market opens on the 4th, 7th, and 10th days of the month. Today is the 14th of May. We'll need more than a day to reach Mount Bacon, and if we find Divine Dr. Kai, it might take some time. If we don't find him, we won't be returning right away. If we can make it in time for the market on the 17th, I can take you there. But if you want to go deep into Mount Bacon to look for the snake immortal, I won't accompany you. You can go by yourself, and if you return by the 20th or 24th, you can also visit the market then." Is it fun? It's not exactly fun, but it's different from an ordinary market. At this point, they had already passed the small road they had just taken, so Heroine Wu had to turn back and point to that road, saying, "Follow that path all the way. There's a fissure in the ground, several zhang wide at its widest point, at least 2 zhang at its narrowest, and about 10 zhang deep in the deepest areas, stretching for dozens of li long. It doesn't get any sunlight except at noon." Is it naturally formed? It's said that during the late years of the previous dynasty, when the world was divided and demons were causing chaos, gods descended to the mortal realm. Some extraordinary divine immortals or demons fought here, splitting the earth and creating this fissure. That's quite miraculous. I'm not sure if it's true or not. Have you heard of it? I haven't heard of it. You haven't heard of it? It's probably just a rumor. Maybe it came from the earth dragon turning over, Heroine Wu said. She added, "Since the fissure is outside Changing City, people gradually started doing some shady business here. Originally, it was just some outlaws and shady people coming here, but it grew bigger over time. Now, a lot of brave and curious townsfolk sometimes come to join the excitement, calling it the ghost market. I've heard that sometimes real mountain demons and ghosts come here to do business." I see. She said, "There are some special features about it too. Once you step inside, it's quite unique. There are stone caves carved out on both sides of the fissure, and it's often shrouded in mist. The goods sold there are strange and varied. You can find things that aren't commonly seen in Changing, and even things that aren't allowed to be sold on regular streets. If you're capable, you might even acquire some secret information. However, there are often government officials mingling around, so those strictly prohibited items are hard to come by, like armor. If they do show up for sale, the place will be surrounded by guards the next day." Does the government usually not interfere? They do, but not too much. That's how the government operates. They enforce strict regulations within the city, but once you're outside, it's quite lenient, Heroine Wu explained. They usually conduct major inspections every few years, and routine minor checks are of little consequence. The ghost market has been around for hundreds of years and is entangled in too many affairs. It won't easily be shut down. I understand now. As they were talking, they had already walked quite a distance. Suddenly, a chorus of cicadas quickly approached, intermittent and loud. The Taoist couldn't help but look down. He saw the Calico cat trotting back toward him with lively little steps, holding a cicada in its mouth. The cicada let out a few feeble cries, as if pleading for mercy, but they did nothing to sway the cat's cold heart. The cat walked right up to the Taoist and pawed at his pant leg. He bent down and opened his hand, and the cat dropped the cicada into his palm, then looked up at him. "Eat the cicada." "I won't eat it." "People eat cicadas." The Calico cat stared at him and continued, There are people in the city who eat cicadas, roasting them over a fire. You should roast it too. I won't roast it. I'll help you roast it. I appreciate your kind offer, but you should eat it yourself. You're hungry. I'm not. You're tired from walking. I'm not. The calico cat stared at him for a long time, then took the cicada from his hand and bit into it, not wanting to waste anything. With that, it trotted off ahead again. Your cat really cares about you, she remarked. She's afraid I'll starve, came the response. How interesting, Heroine Wu couldn't help but smile. Such warmth could influence those around her. At this moment, the morning had gradually shifted to noon. Although it was overcast, lacking the blazing sun, there was still a bit of sultriness. Midst the heat, there were occasional breezes that brought refreshing coolness with each gust. The small path was lined with scattered summer flowers, which lacked the delicate charm of spring blossoms but possessed their own brilliance. Accompanied by the cicada sounds echoing from all directions, it felt much like every summer she remembered. It was a bit surreal. This summer was already half gone. She had been bustling about almost every day, enduring the scorching sun and the summer heat. Today was the first day she had the leisure to admire the summer flowers by the roadside and listen to the cicadas by the path. It wasn't until half the summer had passed that she truly felt the essence of the season. Suddenly, she heard a faint sound, almost imperceptible like a kettle coming to a boil. Not just her, but the bouncy, carefree calico cat ahead was also drawn to the sound, stretching its neck to gaze in the direction from which it came. As they walked over, they saw 4 or 5 village children walking barefoot along the road. 2 of the children were wearing pants that were only half-length, while 3 others had rolled their pant legs up to their knees, their feet caked in mud. One of the children was even carrying a basket, likely heading to the river to catch fish or loaches. Each of them also had half a pea pod in their mouths, producing various bright or deep sounds when blown. The cacophony of noises was quite jarring. Hey kids, Heroine Wu called out to them, where did you find that jianghu? Huh, the children immediately stopped, looking bewildered. Although Heroine Wu spoke in a feminine voice, she had her face covered with cloth. She stood tall and was leading a horse while carrying a sword, which gave her an imposing presence. I'm asking where you found that jianghu. What? The jianghu, the horse-dung jianghu, Heroine Wu clarified, then realized the term might be different in changing. She pointed to her mouth, the one you blow. There's some further up the road. Let's go, Heroine Wu waved her hand. A group of children immediately quickened their pace, glancing back at them as they walked and continued to whistle. The calico cat also stood in place, staring at them intently. It wasn't until the children had walked far away, along with the Taoist and the heroine, that it withdrew its gaze and hurried after the Taoist. After a while, the calico cat had transformed into the shape of a little girl, and like Heroine Wu, she had a wild pea-pod whistle in her mouth. The two walked side by side, the small girl and tall woman producing sounds reminiscent of a kettle, making the feeling of summer in her memories even more complete. The Taoist was surrounded by the noise, but wore a smile. In the distance, the shadows of mountains could be seen, seemingly unreachable in the far horizon. \\\\*. As they got closer, the mountains loomed nearer, their silhouettes growing clearer. However, upon approaching, more indistinct mountain shadows appeared behind them. Indeed, there seemed to be no end to the mountains in this world. After resting by the roadside at night, they arrived at the continuous Mount Bacon the following morning. The majestic mountains rose high, and within the depths of the white clouds, there were homes. Toot, toot, toot. The little girl continued to blow her whistle, walking in an unsteady manner. She swayed deliberately toward the Taoist, bumping into him before straightening up, only to sway back again and bump into him once more. It seemed she found this very amusing. The path up the mountain was indeed hard to find and navigate. One could easily stray if not careful. Fortunately, there were many houses up the mountain, as well as temples and monasteries. The path was not narrow, and in some places, stone steps had been built. Heroine Wu had come here twice, leading the yellow-maned horse, chatting with him while diligently searching for the way. Thus, amidst the great mountains, a small path slanted deep into the woods. Just then, the 4 of them, 2 persons, a cat and a horse, slowly made their way up the mountain. Sometimes it was a dirt road, and other times it was stone steps. The roadside was overgrown with unknown shrubs, covered in tiny thorns, bearing small blue-purple flowers. In the distance, the silhouette of an ancient temple could be faintly seen at the mountain peak. The mountain breeze filled the air, causing the grass and trees along the path to sway. The scenery was beautiful. The world appeared both clear and dim, the sultriness gone, and her mood became exceedingly pleasant. The group ambled along, gradually entering the depths of the white clouds. They would occasionally encounter some jianghu folk, seemingly coming to seek Surdu, who might regard them as competitors and would exchange fierce glances with them. Songyu usually ignored such encounters, focusing earnestly on the path, while heroine Wu insisted on meeting their gazes, waiting for them to shift their eyes first or for them to pass before she turned away. If I remember correctly, it should be up ahead. So he's a recluse living deep in the mountains, huh? Not exactly a recluse, heroine Wu's voice rang out. Don't be fooled by his residence in the mountains. He actually lives here to facilitate gathering herbs and sampling various plants. He spends only a few months at home each year, usually wandering around to provide consultations. Wherever he goes, he's treated as a guest of honor, so it doesn't matter that his residence is somewhat remote. There's a house. The little girl temporarily took the whistle from her mouth, pointing ahead. After speaking, she wiped the saliva from the whistle and stuffed it back into her mouth. Toot toot. She couldn't keep it in, and it fell to the ground. The little girl immediately reached out to pick it up, but was swiftly stopped by the Taoist, who grabbed her hand. My whistle. It's dirty. No, it's not. There are more on the way. Oh. Indeed, in the distance, there was a thatched cottage. As they approached, they saw several thatched houses with their doors closed, one of which had a pair of fishtails pasted on the door. No one is home, the little girl said softly. Knock, knock. Heroine Wu tapped on the door, but as expected, no one responded. Looks like we've come at a bad time. Heroine Wu furrowed her brow and bent down to look at the entrance, running her hand over it before checking her fingers. There's a layer of dust in front of the door. Even if the wind is strong up here, it seems like no one has come in or out for quite some time. I've let down your trust, Heroine. He must have gone out to treat patients. Heroine Wu shook her head. What do you think? I came here on a whim. If I find the person I'm looking for, that would be great, but even if I don't, I've already had my fill of enjoyment, Songyu replied with a smile. Besides, I was originally trying to escape the troubles of changing, so not finding him is no big deal. But you, Heroine, seem to have something more important to seek from Dr. Kai. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. What can I do? Heroine Wu sighed. I plan to wait here until tomorrow afternoon. If no one comes, I'll head back and try again next time. Then I'll wait until tomorrow afternoon as well. All right. Not minding the dirt, the two sat down by the door, leaning against it as they enjoyed the mountain breeze while waiting for nightfall. Today, the sky was overcast, with no sunset in sight. The Taoist sat cross-legged at the entrance of the thatched cottage with his eyes closed, quietly listening to the sound of the mountain wind sweeping through the air, the rustling of grass and trees, and the cicadas gradually being replaced by the sounds of insects and frogs. A little girl curled up beside him, indifferent to the dirt and unbothered about staining her clothes. She was lying sideways on the ground, resembling a cat. Heroine Wu leaned against the door frame, cradling her sword, occasionally opening her eyes to glance into the distance. The yellow-maned horse was tied nearby, munching on grass. As night fell completely, the sounds of calls from the mountains echoed, the wind rustled the grass, and occasionally the commotion from wandering martial artists could be heard. The night passed like this. The next morning, Heroine Wu opened her eyes to find green mountains and white clouds before her, a picturesque scene. Turning her head, she saw her horse standing quietly. The Taoist still sat a few kai away beside her, but the little girl was nowhere to be seen, leaving behind only a small bowl filled with half a bowl of water. That bowl was made of exquisite blue and white porcelain, of considerable value. The Taoist used it to feed the cat, while he himself used a coarse bowl. At first, she thought the bowl was a gift from someone or obtained from the palace, but upon asking, she learned that he had specifically gone to the West Market to buy it for a full 1,000 Cayenne. Why not buy two? Because I didn't have enough money. Heroine Wu had been puzzled at the time, but now she no longer found it strange. Noticing that the Taoist had opened his eyes, she asked, Where's your cat? It went out. Where to? Not sure. Recently, many jianghu martial artists have come rushing here upon hearing the news, searching the mountains like they're picking up gold. Be careful, your cat's good looks might catch their attention, and it might get taken away. That's unlikely, the Taoist replied calmly. Just call her and she will return. Then call her. Before the Taoist could speak, there was movement on the path. A little girl dressed in a tricolor outfit slowly walked back, holding something in her hands. Looking around, she spotted the two people at the entrance of the cottage, and she immediately quickened her pace. She ran over until she stopped in front of the Taoist. She stretched out her hand, opening her soft, white palm. She held a handful of wild pea pods, displaying them for the two to see. I found this again. This type of grass mostly grew low to the ground, blooming with small flowers and bearing fruit that resembled pods but was much smaller. Once ripe, the pods became round and elongated. Breaking one in half and extracting the seeds allowed you to blow through it, creating a sound. Alternatively, you could simply take the seeds and blow through a bamboo tube for fun. In certain regions of Yizhu, people refer to this blowable item as jianghu, a simple and vivid reduplicated term. Since this grass often grows near horse dung, it's colloquially called horse dung jianghu. In reality, it had no relation to horse dung. Normally, without the presence of a heroine, Song Yu would play with these things alongside the Calico cat. But today, with the heroine around, he handed them over to her. The heroine leaned in to take a look, selecting some plump, long pods while discarding the rest. Just like at the Pingzhu Mountains, the little girl couldn't bear to part with them. As soon as the heroine threw them away, she remained silent and immediately picked them up again. It wasn't until the heroine explained that the flat, short ones hadn't matured and wouldn't make a sound when turned into jianghu, that even if they did, the sound would be too small, that she still clutched them stubbornly in her hands, refusing to throw them away. Before long, a whistling sound emerged again beside her. Toot, toot, toot. After blowing for a while, the little girl seemed to remember something and turned to the Taoist, saying, I saw a tiger last night, a very big tiger, and there were two of them. Heroine Wu, just having stuffed the horse dung jianghu into her mouth, took it out again and turned to stare at her. Where? Right over there. The little girl pointed in a direction. Is it far? Not far. Exactly 2. 2, more than 2 is 3. Why didn't I see it? People are blind at night. Is it the same as the tiger you saw before in Changing? The Taoist beside her asked. It's the same. Then the news must be true. That Sir Du really escaped to Mount Bacon, probably hoping to take advantage of the complex mountain paths to flee, Heroine Wu said, raising an eyebrow. These poor people in Changing are still able to find him even with so many people coming and going all day. Toot, toot, toot. The little girl continued to blow on the horse dung jianghu. But as she blew, a slightly strange sound came out, and she turned her head to look at the grass nearby. The sound then returned to normal. Heroine Wu also looked in that direction. Who is it? The grass fell silent for a moment before half a head poked out. It was a gaunt, middle-aged man. The man shifted his gaze, looking at the little girl, then at the yellow-maned horse, at the woman, and finally at the young Taoist, his eyes widening in surprise. Immortal Master. The man immediately rushed out with a bundle. Xiang. The heroine drew her long knife, frowning slightly as she turned her head, glancing sideways at the Taoist beside her. What did he say? He called for me. Heroine Wu's gaze shifted, and she retracted her long knife. The middle-aged man stumbled toward them, navigating through the grass and thorns. In the height of summer, the vegetation was lush and stood taller than a person, blocking the view from less than 10 kai away. The middle-aged man, however, paid no attention to the thorns and wooden spikes or to any snakes or insects that might be hiding in the grass, and he kept running in their direction. Before long, he had pushed through the grass and arrived in front of them. Immortal Master, save me. The middle-aged man immediately knelt down, but the Taoist supported him. This man was indeed Sir Du, whom they had met at the Grand Commander's residence. Heroine Wu also recognized him and shifted her gaze to the bundles that Master Du was carrying, focusing particularly on 2 long boxes wrapped in oilcloth. Sir Du, please rise. Immortal Master, save me. My life is in danger. Why do you say that, sir? I've been pursued and is in imminent danger. Calm down. The Taoist picked up a water pouch beside him and noticed Master Du's cracked lips. He gently asked, Would you like some water, sir? Thank you, Immortal Master. Master Du took the water pouch and tilted his head back to drink, careful not to spill a single drop. Heroine Wu chuckled softly and stepped back a couple of paces while leaning against the doorway of the thatched hut, keeping an eye on them while also glancing into the distance. Since parting from the Grand Commander's residence, I thought I would never see you again. I came today seeking Dr. Kai, but unexpectedly found you instead. It must be fate. It is my good fortune to meet you. It is also my good fortune. Thank you for the water, Immortal Master. No need to be polite. Song Yu took the water pouch, sealed it, and asked, How did you end up here, sir? It's a long story. No need to rush, take your time. Song Yu simply sat down cross-legged, ready to listen attentively. Sir Du looked back, noticing the open view around them. Even distant wanderers could probably see this place, but seeing the immortal master beside him with his calm demeanor brought a sudden sense of peace to his heart, as if he had found a safe haven. A flurry of thoughts crossed his mind, from the surprise and awe of seeing the immortal master emerge from a painting that day, to the immortal master's words and demeanor at the Grand Commander's residence, and even the final urging from Taoist Master Mu to leave quickly. When he came to his senses, he found the Taoist smiling at him. The heroine had turned her gaze elsewhere, seemingly watching for any approaching jianghu people. The incredibly cute little girl also stared at him, her eyes filled with curiosity and innocence. They were all remarkably trustworthy individuals. Sirdu immediately resolved to speak up. My family possesses a treasured painting, passed down from a famous ancestor. However, due to lax family discipline, news leaked out among my descendants and attracted the covetous eyes of the jianghu people. He explained everything, and the Taoist listened intently. Compared to what the Taoist had heard before, there were both similarities and differences. For instance, there was a righteous military official outside Changing, which matched what they heard. The heroine had heard rumors that his wife was the one leaking secrets, while Sirdu stated it was his unworthy descendants who let the information slip, suggesting a distortion of the truth in the jianghu tales. Mr. Mu knew I possessed a rare treasure, but he harbored no greed. Instead, he advised me to leave. However, with many jianghu wanderers gathering and changing, and most being aware of my presence there, I felt I could not stay within the city any longer. Master Du shook his head repeatedly. Fortunately, while at the Grand Commander's residence, I heard about Dr. Kai. He's known for his divine medical skills and could likely help me disguise myself. Thus, I intended to leave Changing under the cover of night and seek out Dr. Kai, hoping for his assistance. Oh, so you came seeking Dr. Kai's help. I thought you intended to exploit the terrain of Mount Bacon to escape from Changing, Heroine Wu said, glancing at him. But you should know that Dr. Kai often travels around to practice medicine and is rarely at home. I was just hoping to take a chance. Dr. Kai indeed possesses the ability to help people change their appearances. I've also heard of someone like that, a well-known figure in the jianghu known as Dr. Disguise. However, there's a fundamental difference between them, Heroine Wu said while glancing at the movements in the distance. She said, Dr. Disguise is a talented eccentric in the jianghu, famous for his ability to change people's appearances. In contrast, Dr. Kai is a legitimate renowned doctor. Although he has this skill, he is known purely for his exceptional medical expertise and broad knowledge in various fields, not for that ability. The difference between them is as great as that between clouds and earth. Dr. Kai, unlike Dr. Disguise, won't just do anything for money. Even if you are fortunate enough to find him today, he might not agree to help you. I understand that Dr. Kai must have his principles, Sirdu replied, his voice trembling. It's just that on one hand I have no other options, and on the other I've heard that Dr. Kai possesses divine medical skills and a kind heart. If I explain everything to him, he might be moved. Songyu found this interesting. In Sirdu's words, divine medical skills seem to have become a term to describe one's character. However, even though I may not be fortunate enough to meet Dr. Kai, I have encountered you, immortal master. Indeed, no one knows the outcome until the very end, Sirdu continued, turning to Songyu with a pleading look. Please, immortal master, save my life. Songyu didn't ask what kind of treasure it was. He simply inquired. How can I save you? I'm not one to fear death, but the Du family has no successor left. I took on a disciple in my early years, intending to pass down my ancestors' painting skills, but he died at the hands of jianghu wanderers while trying to protect me. If I die, my ancestors' unique painting techniques will be lost, Sirdu said, nearly in tears. Please help me leave this place and find a quiet spot to hide away. After I pass down my teachings, I will gladly serve you, working as hard as an ox or a horse in return. Chapter 163, The Incomparable Painting. Leave this place. Please, immortal master, assist me. How far do you consider far enough? The further, the better. Songyu revealed a smile. Although his first encounter with Sirdu a few days ago at the Grand Commander's residence hadn't been friendly, he knew that Sirdu was being coerced. As a Taoist, Songyu naturally held no grudges against him. Moreover, he felt a sense of connection with Sirdu, understanding his exceptional painting skills and respecting the legacy of the Du family ancestor. The ancestor of the Du family was also renowned for his divine techniques, a talent that was indeed rare. Just like Master Kong from Yizhu back in the day, Songyu certainly didn't want such skills to be lost. From Sirdu's account, he could glean one thing. The reason he had come here to seek Dr. Kai and believed that the physician would most likely help him was not only because he knew Dr. Kai had a kind heart and and was willing to save people, but also because of Dr. Kai's exceptional medical skills. Serdu believed that Dr. Kai was also a person of divine skills and would surely understand how rare such techniques were and how regrettable it would be for them to be lost. Thus, by revealing his identity and explaining that his life was in imminent danger, he thought Dr. Kai would likely offer his assistance. This kind of thinking was hard to articulate, yet it was something that he could sense. If a simple act could save a life and preserve a divine skill, why wouldn't one want to do it? Dr. Kai would be willing to, and so would the Taoist. But alas, if Song Yu had the ability to travel 1,000 li in a single day, he wouldn't have to worry about not seeing the old Taoist in the temple for the last time. After a moment of contemplation, the Taoist finally spoke. Serdu, your painting skills are already among the finest in the world. Given time, it's not impossible for you to attain the level of your ancestor. I am naturally willing to assist you. However, I myself am still traveling the world step by step. I do not have the ability to wave my hand and send you 1,000 li away. I do have some methods of illusion to change appearances, but I only have a superficial understanding of this skill. While I can barely use it on myself, applying it to you would probably only last for a day at most. The Taoist looked at Serdu helplessly. How far can you get in a day's time? Upon hearing this, Serdu momentarily fell silent. Yet he did not show any signs of disappointment. Instead, he widened his eyes and remained still, as if rapidly calculating something in his mind. After a moment, he finally regained his composure. Immortal Master, you intend to travel the world. Every generation of my temple's heirs have been traveling the world, experiencing life. Song Yu smiled at him. It seems you have found a new method. Do you know what kind of treasure I have at home? I've only heard it is a painting. Without saying another word, Serdu took out his travel bag from his back. Inside, there were 2 long boxes wrapped in oilcloth. One was shorter, likely containing the painting of 2 tigers fighting in the mountain, while the other was longer, about the length of a person. He opened the longer box, and indeed it contained a scroll. As he untied the red string and slowly unfurled the scroll, a fantastical and beautiful depiction of a mountain village gradually revealed itself to the eyes of those present. The heroine next to them cast a glance in that direction. The scenery in the painting was distinctly near and far, with strokes that appeared casual yet brimming with spiritual chi. It was neither the currently popular freehand landscape painting nor the lifelike portraits of the Taoist and the general that Serdu had painted a few days earlier. Instead, it seemed to find a mysterious balance between realism and impressionism, with scenes that felt somewhat authentic while also overflowing with artistic conception. In the foreground, there was only a small dirt path, seemingly growing along the lakeshore by the still waters. The path was lined with tall reeds, which in the deep autumn had blossomed into white tufts, forming a gentle, cozy expanse like a soft blanket. The entire patch of reeds leaned in one direction, allowing one to perceive the traces of the wind in the painting. The small path by the lakeshore, however, was quite dry. It was well trodden by frequent visitors, creating a smooth surface that appeared very inviting, making one want to take a stroll along it. The path slanted gently, leading forward, but where did it lead? It was toward a towering mountain wall that stretched from the far left to the far right. Although the peaks varied in height, they were generally similar, forming a nearly flat ridge. At the base of the mountain, countless houses and cottages sat on the slightly sloping ground, with the dusk settling in and casting a dim light and wisps of smoke rising sporadically into the air. It was deep autumn, so people were continuously burning straw. A series of bluish-gray smoke columns rose into the air. Midst the hazy dusk, the smoke appeared gray and blue, but didn't rise straight up. It was either being blown by the wind, or simply because the mountains and the villages below were too far apart. The smoke couldn't reach the peaks. From this perspective, it seemed to linger just above the rooftops of the villages at the foot of the mountain, then was stretched by the evening breeze into a smoke line running from south to north. It was spreading along the ground and draping over the gentle curves of the mountain base like a thin veil, covering the cottages beneath the twilight. This painting was vast yet rich in details. There were returning geese, cows making their way home, the colors of the sunset on the horizon, and the first star peeking out. None of it was missing. Even a woman unfamiliar with art stood entranced, and even a cat was filled with curiosity. As for the Taoist, he sensed an indescribable, profound charm radiating from this painting. It was full of life. While the image appeared still, it felt as if everything was in motion. This was not a painting, it was clearly a real world. This was not a paper, it was clearly a door. The Taoist gradually widened his eyes. Seeing this one scene made the journey worthwhile, even if he couldn't find Dr. Kai. and even if it were just to escape the turmoil of changing for a while. Seeing this was worth even more than just this trip. Even traveling another 1,000 li would be worth it. Indeed, our ancestor possessed the ability to bring paintings to life, but it's not as simple as waving a brush to make it real. Serdou's voice broke the tranquil atmosphere. Not only are the right timing and location essential, but inspiration and deep emotional resonance must also come from within. Only by pouring one's heart and soul into the artwork, imbuing it with spirituality, can life be birthed within it. This painting is my family's treasured heirloom, renowned in the jianghu, worth more than all the artworks our ancestor created in his lifetime combined. This is it. Serdou paused, his expression complex as he gazed at the painting. Indeed, it is more precious than all our ancestors' works put together. Quickly put it away. Though there is no wind at the moment, it must not be allowed to gather dust and lose its spiritual resonance. Understood. Serdou only temporarily stowed the painting away. The Taoist reflected on the scenes in the painting and the profound sensations he felt, still savoring the moment. He said, "This painting is truly extraordinary, rich in spiritual resonance and immeasurable in mystery. The painting has likely formed its own world, surely created by Master Du with his lifelong dedication." Hearing this, the heroine was momentarily stunned. The painter was even more shocked. Ordinary people looking at this painting would only appreciate its beauty, while those with sharper senses might feel an inexplicable allure, as if they could step right into it. Most would sense the profundity but couldn't articulate what made it so profound. Few would dare to think of it as a world unto itself. But this was indeed the truth. Taoist, you're indeed truly remarkable. You're able to discern its spiritual resonance and profundity with just a glance. I am in admiration. I don't possess such extraordinary insight, Song Yu replied honestly. Several years ago, I encountered another master sculptor in Yizhu whose skills were unparalleled. After gaining some insight and a touch of inspiration from the master, I acquired a bit of skill, particularly in this area. Is that so? May I ask, where's this painting depicting? It is of the Du family's ancestral home in Yunzhu, Zhao Commandery. I must visit there in my lifetime. Regrettably, I have lived in seclusion in Anjou with my father since childhood and have never returned to our ancestral home. A look of regret filled Serdou's face, but this wasn't the time to dwell on such matters. He shook his head and continued. The world knows that the Du family has passed down the art of painting since this ancestor, yet few know that we served as court painters 1,000 years ago. It was only due to a foolish emperor demanding unreasonable things that our ancestor chose to resign, returning home. Since then, no remarkable painter has emerged from the court, for those who truly pursue the art of painting often leave such environments. Your ancestor was noble in character, Song Yu replied casually, focusing intently on Serdou's narration. The little girl beside him stretched her neck, standing upright and staring unblinkingly at the painter. Although Serdou feared that people from the jianghu might come looking for him, he also recognized this person's skills and knew that his immediate priority was to persuade this Taoist. To convince someone like him, one must be patient. Thus, he maintained his composure and spoke slowly. Since leaving the court and being free from constraints, our ancestor devoted generations to mastering painting techniques, pursuing the mysteries of mountains and waters. He indeed made rapid progress, gradually developing the unique technique of the Du family. To reach the pinnacle of painting beyond just skills, the choice of brush, ink, paper, and inkstone must also be taken to the utmost level. It is said that an ancestor once traveled the world, befriended immortals, and journeyed with them. He obtained the everlasting Chinese parasol trees that once sheltered the phoenix from the northern region of Yuzhou to make paper, producing a total of 4 sheets, truly exceptional paper, rich in spiritual resonance. That ancestor used 1 sheet for himself back then, and though the resulting painting was remarkable, he felt his skills were lacking. So, he passed down the remaining 3 sheets, advising his descendants not to use them lightly until they reached the peak of their craft. Later on, 2 more ancestors, believing their skills to be exceptional, used 2 sheets of this paper. However, like the earlier ancestor, they began with confidence. But upon completing their works, they found the mystical qualities of it exceeded their expectations. Yet it was precisely this unexpected mystic that led them to regret their decision. Even one ancestor painted a masterpiece and then died, leading to even stricter warnings to future generations against the misuse of the Chinese parasol wood paper. It wasn't until later that another ancestor, gifted with extraordinary talent, was said to create miraculous works on ordinary paper. By middle age, he had even brought figures to life in his paintings and made tigers come to life. He far surpassed all previous ancestors. However, there was only one sheet of painting paper left, and he did not dare to use it recklessly. So, he packed his bag, left his hometown, and traveled across the world to witness countless mountains and waters. It is said that he waited for 6 months just to see an exquisite scenery. Yet, after seeing so many extraordinary sights, the more he saw, the less he knew how to put brush to paper. He increasingly struggled to find what he truly wanted to paint. When the ancestor returned home in disappointment, he was already in his twilight years. Amidst the turmoil of war, he had squandered half his life. The old dynasty had fallen, and the new dynasty had risen, yet he had found no resolution, and the paper remained blank. At this point, Sir Du shook his head. Song, you seem to already know the outcome. As expected, Sir Du emotionally, that was a deep autumn in the 6th year of the new dynasty. Just as my ancestor returned to his hometown, he looked up and saw the very scenery depicted in this painting, peaceful and serene. He was instantly stunned, tears welling in his eyes. After a while, he took up his brush. Within half a day, he completed this painting, which moved the heavens and earth, astonishing both ghosts and gods. The Taoist felt a surge of emotions, finding it beyond words to describe. Chapter 164. Entrust to the Immortal Master. Song Yu had a rough understanding of Sir Du's approach. This painting is so extraordinary, and you've previously painted my portrait in the Grand Commander's residence. How could you dare to entrust this painting, along with your life, to me? Sir Du said respectfully with a deep bow. As the saying goes, it's easy to paint a person or a tiger, but hard to capture their bones. One may know a person's face, but not their heart. If you want to portray the essence and spirit, you must first learn to observe people before painting them, and learn to observe tigers before painting tigers. Although I lack my ancestors' divine abilities, I have my own insights into observing and painting people. Although I have offended you, I have also come to know that you possess great virtues and cultivation skills, akin to the divine immortal. Your heart is calm, and your character is noble. I believe you wouldn't covet this painting of mine. He paused for a moment before continuing. Moreover, at this moment, countless people from the jianghu are searching for my whereabouts on Mount Bacon. I am at my wit's end. If you truly desire this painting, it would be better to give it to you rather than handing it over to them, where it might be destroyed or collected by officials and nobles. Perhaps entrusting it to you is a better fate than keeping it in my hands. Upon hearing this, Song Yu revealed a smile, not out of joy but rather out of intrigue. This painting is indeed an unparalleled masterpiece and should be preserved properly for future generations, the Taoist said. Sir Du, you and your family's unique painting skills should also be passed down. Will you agree to assist me, immortal master? I only wish that in countless years to come, people will still be able to see this painting, and that the unique painting skills of the Du family will continue to exist in the world. Thank you, immortal master. Sir, I'm guessing your approach is related to the painting. You're quite insightful, immortal master. Do enlighten me. This painting is connected to the brush left behind by my ancestor. By lightly touching the painting with the brush, one can step into the painting and live within the landscapes. Inside is like a true world. Though it may seem small, there are over 10 li from east to west, and dozens of li from north to south, with over 100,000 villagers inside. My wife is among them. It's truly a paradise on earth, he exclaimed. I can carry my belongings into the painting. I kindly ask you to take the painting down the mountain and store it properly, immortal master. When the day comes that you leave Changing to travel the world, wherever you find suitable, you can use the brush to open the world within the painting and release me, Sir Du said respectfully. This painting is 4 kai long, so I would trouble you to carry it. If you agree, I would be immensely grateful. If you do not, I will accept this fate. Song Yu said, it's just a painting, it's no trouble at all. Thank you, immortal master. As Sir Du spoke, he bent down and was about to kneel. It's just a small favor. You needn't be so formal, Song Yu said, helping him up. Moreover, this painting possesses incredible spiritual resonance and profound mysteries. If I could be with it for a while, it would not only be my fortune but might also yield many insights that would aid my cultivation. I'll consider the benefits I'll gain in exchange with you, sir. Sir Du had already risen, but paused at these words. He was not a foolish person. Song Yu's assistance was already a great kindness. Now, he even took care to consider his feelings, how kind this man was. For a moment, he was at a loss for words and wanted to bow again. Sir, please don't. I can never repay you, immortal master. My surname is Song and my name is Yu. I cultivate at the Hidden Dragon Temple in Linquan County, Yizhu. I am just a Taoist, unworthy of the title immortal master, Song Yu corrected him. You may simply call me Mr. I am Duke Shuwen with the style name Myoxian. I was truly so frightened earlier that I forgot to introduce myself to you, immortal master. It was my mistake. Please forgive me. Please step into the painting, sir. Song Yu was reluctant to prolong the conversation. It's still early, but after a while, I fear that people from the jianghu will come looking. All right, Sir Du repeatedly agreed. He then took out a brush that had not been used for many years from his bag and unfolded the painting again. He held the brush, being careful as he applied it to the canvas. The intricate connections revealed profound mysteries, and the spiritual resonance surged. The Taoist's expression remained calm. The little girl stretched her neck, staring intently. The heroine, standing a bit further back with her arms crossed over her sword, also watched without blinking. This painting can only be opened from the outside. When you wish to use it, just lightly touch the paper with the brush. If you need to enter the painting to seek me for something, please make sure to provide prior instructions from the outside. I understand. I will forever remember your kindness, immortal master. I shall take my leave for now. The painting was over half a person wide, nearly the size of a regular household door, and more than a person long. When hung up, it resembled a door. Sir Du handed the brush to Song Yu and picked up all his belongings except for the box holding the painting. Under the watchful gaze of the two and the cat, he stepped toward the painting while carrying his things. It was truly unfathomably mysterious. The painting seemed to truly become a door, and this person really passed through the canvas, entering the painting. The woman and the little girl widened their eyes, and the three of them all gathered around. The scenery in the painting had hardly changed. Only the geese that were in the sky before had vanished, the water buffalo had shifted positions, and the dusk haze along the mountain had slightly altered. The village at the foot of the mountain was too far away for them to see any differences since it was painted so small. However, up close, there was an added figure. It was a middle-aged man with a thin frame, carrying a bag while standing still on a small path. Remarkable. Wow. Both the woman and the little girl were astonished. The middle-aged man's figure remained frozen in the painting. The Taoist did not respond, but simply put the painting away. While he was putting it away, he suddenly stopped and opened the painting again to take another look. The additional figure had already walked a distance down the path, seeming a bit uneasy as it glanced back. However, it was unclear what scenery the one in the painting saw upon looking back. Only then did Song Yu carefully put the painting away and place it back in the box. He looked at the remaining ancient brush, considered it for a moment, and also placed it in the box. The brush held little spiritual resonance or mystery. Perhaps it had indeed absorbed some spiritual qi when it was used by that Sir Du back in the day, but now it had mostly dissipated. Yet, since this painting was created with this brush, it naturally became the key to unlocking the world within the painting. In truth, Song Yu could have done without it. The blessings he obtained from Master Kong back in Yizhu, while different from bringing a painting to life, had many similarities. With this mystical ability, Song Yu could open the world within the painting. That Master Du back then must have had the same ability, naturally able to open the world within the painting and enter or exit freely, even while within it. Now, however, others could only use the brush to unlock it. Song Yu shook his head, feeling regretful for not being able to witness the splendor of that master firsthand. Not having entered the painting only fueled his curiosity. The heroine beside him then spoke up. This painting is worth a fortune. It may be worth even more. Do you really not have the slightest greed? None at all. You're truly deserving of being a master cultivator. And you, do you have any? Of course, quite a bit. Oh. I just never thought of competing for it before, but this painting could sustain me for 8 lifetimes. Heroine Wu shook her head and sighed. If it weren't for you, I would have come here alone to find Dr. Kai, and even if I didn't kill him, I would have snatched the painting to exchange it for money. You are quite honest. Are you really planning to take the painting back, wait until you leave Changing, and then release it back to him? I've already promised him. How could I go back on my word? That's true. Heroine Wu smiled. Their acquaintance back then on Lingbo was built on trust, after all. I think it's quite accurate that he calls you a divine immortal. Not at all. Needless to say, the heroine had no idea that while Song Yu was not coveting the painting, he could experience its charm and grasp its profound mysteries just by simply bringing it back to hang in his room to admire. It would be immensely beneficial to him. How are you going to bring it down? Do you have some kind of spell that lets you store things in your sleeves? None. Then how will you take it down? This box clearly looks like it holds a painting, and there are so many jianghu heroes on the mountain, the heroine said. "Oh, since you were in the Grand Commander's residence, I heard that many of the Jianghu heroes and guests there were also among those you knocked out. You weren't afraid of them at all. They're about the same. Are you still going to wait for the divine doctor?" "Of course." "All right." The two then sat down again, hiding the box carefully. They began to light a fire to boil water for breakfast, waiting for Dr. Kai to return as planned the night before. From time to time, Jianghu heroes would come by and ask what they were doing. The heroine would say they were looking for Dr. Kai, and when others asked if they had seen a frail middle-aged man, she quickly replied no. The Jianghu heroes would leave skeptically, thus the Taoist could avoid lying or getting into trouble. In truth, he should be thankful to her. Gradually, midday passed. The little girl was so bored that she transformed into a cat to catch a rabbit and foraged some wild chicken eggs. After changing back, she picked a small twig and started practicing writing in the muddy soil, and she clung to the Taoist, asking him to teach her new words. The heroine quietly watched from the side as the sun slanted halfway across the sky. The Taoist peeled a boiled wild chicken egg, ate the egg white himself, and stuffed the yolk into the little girl's mouth. The little girl sat on the threshold, not looking at the Taoist but simply opening her mouth when he offered it, chewing away while continuing to focus on the lines of the words on the ground. Even before finishing, she mumbled, "One goes 2 or 3 li. A smoke village has 4 or 5 houses. There are 6 or 7 pavilions and 8 or 9, 10 towers. Flowers. Flowers." After correcting herself, the little girl turned to him, eager and inquisitive. "What does it mean? Don't you know the meaning of each word?" "I don't know when they're combined." "Read it 100 times, and its meaning will become clear." "Do I really have to read it 100 times?" "If you do that, its meaning will become clear." "Oh," the little girl responded and genuinely started reading softly, counting with her delicate little fingers as she did so. The Taoist paid her no mind, allowing her to read. The woman beside him, still holding her sword, asked, "When did you start teaching her to read?" "Not long ago." "How long is that?" "Probably at the end of spring." "So 2 months ago." "About that." "She knows quite a few words." "Lady Calico is very smart and diligent in her studies." Xianxia glanced at the little girl beside him, who was also peeking over at him with a sideways glance. When she noticed him looking, she quickly averted her gaze and continued to read earnestly. He smiled. "She basically learns all the words I teach her in one go, and she can write them quite well very quickly." "Pretty clever." "Yeah." The child's desire for praise was truly endearing. "Learning more words is a good thing." "It's already afternoon. Are you still waiting?" "I'm not waiting anymore." "Then I won't wait either." "What's your plan? Are you still going to Mount Bacon to find that snake immortal related to your sect?" "I'm content with this trip, so I won't be going." "Just like that, you're not going." "I'll go another time." "When will that be?" "Probably in winter." "Why?" "This mountain is vast. The scenery in winter will surely be beautiful." As he replied, the Taoist had already taken out the box for the painting and slung it over his back. He called to the little girl and headed down the mountain with the woman.